Hey Ed, thanks for taking some time on a Tuesday morning to talk to a couple of classes of mine and potentially the internet. Ed, successful graduate of Ranken Technical College going back to 2012, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so you've been out in
hmm
the industry for a while now, so I'm really excited to hear what kind of insight you have to that industry. And, first question for you is, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and telling us who you are.
Hey, thanks, Evan. I appreciate it. Yep, former student of Rankin Technical College, Edward Frank Chimero. Uh, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Went to Rankin, figured it out real quick. Yeah, so what was the rest of the question? Sorry, I'm not good at this.
No, you're all good, man. So you graduated in 2012, and where are you working
hmm
nowadays?
So I'm working for Century Distribution Systems,
Okay, and
and they are a shipping and logistics company.
Century Distribution Systems.
hmm That's correct.
And what's your job title?
Data warehouse developer.
Data warehouse developer. So what does a data warehouse developer do?
So I manage the inflow of data coming in from our vendors. So we have, several thousand vendors sending purchase orders and bookings and shipments, and I have to make sure that those are cataloged correctly in our database.
So you work primarily with databases.
Yes, with the SQL Server at Microsoft, the Microsoft suite currently, we're migrating over to the cloud-based solutions.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Microsoft SQL Server, and I'm guessing the Microsoft Azure cloud.
Yep. Yep.
And other than SQL as your primary language, do you dabble with or do you deal with write other programming languages?
Oh yes, all the time. So not mostly deal with Python. With some of our orchestration software uses Python, so I have to kind of know how to work with that, and then I have to integrate with PowerShell as well using Python, which is always fun. Yeah, I would say those would be the two primary languages I would have to use.
Cool. So if I'm just going to list them off, we got SQL, we got Microsoft Azure, we got Python, and we got PowerShell.
Yep. You can also add Snowflake as well,
Ah, that's a big
and
that's a big name.
yep, and some a little bit of AI in there as well.
Oh yeah, let's expand on AI. How do you integrate with that? What do you do there?
So what we're trying to do right now is integrate a language model into our shipping and logistics software where we can use AI to kind of formulate and tell vendors like, hey, this is the types of things you need to buy, or these are the types of containers you need to buy for your product. So on
So
and so
let's
forth.
expand on that a little bit. So my understanding is a large language model, an LLM, is basically what ChatGPT is. And so you
That is
have a
correct.
generic LLM that is ChatGPT, but now industries are making their own LLMs that are specific to their industries. And since
That is
you have
correct.
all the data in your database, you can kind
hmm
of seed the LLM with your data set and make a LLM tailored to your industry.
That is absolutely correct.
And so
Could have
that's
couldn't have explained it better.
awesome, awesome. Well, this AI stuff is new to us all, so I'm trying to understand it myself and
Oh, but it's fantastic.
yeah, what um so that's cool. Very cool. Um so you got in here, you went to Rankin in 2010 to 2012. Why did you
hmm
choose software development? Why did you get into this industry?
Uh, Hilariously, it actually had to do with something from my youth. So back in, I want to say, even, geez, the 90s, 1990s, I was dabbling with messing with scripts on computers and whatnot, and modding games was basically my thing. Specifically, Homeworld. That was my thing. I would create mods for Homeworld, and I had to learn how to script and do 3D modeling and stuff like that. And it really just kind of spoke to me in a certain way. Uh, I didn't really end up following it after high school until after I got out of the military, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should try. Give it a try.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's worked out.
The gaming background, I would tell you the same thing. That's why I got into IT. Was I
Mm-hmm.
was a gamer, and it just made sense, right? I was spending all my time on an actual computer or an Xbox that essentially was a computer, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
so,
Yep. Exactly.
and then it just made sense. And so I would guess, by a show of hands, how many people kind of have a gaming background and kind of got into IT a little bit because of that gaming background? I mean, at least 3/4 of our students kind of raise
Okay.
their hand there. And so it's a good segue, right? It's a good
Yep.
pathway to have kind of a gaming background and transition into IT.
Absolutely.
So you're working from home,
Mm-hmm.
I see, at Century Distribution Systems. So tell me, are you working from home 5 days a week, 4 days a week, 3 days a week? How does that work?
Well, during the pandemic, it was pretty much 100% work from home. Recently, we've started going back into the office 1 day a week. So we usually do Mondays. And the reason for that is because the traffic is the least amount on Monday for whatever reason.
Okay. So different people have different opinions on work from home. Some people like going into the office. Some people prefer working from home. Or where do you fall on that spectrum?
Oh, I prefer working from home
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. 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 It was nice when we did that, but for education, I'm a believer in in-person learning, and
I
um,
I agree. I feel like there are certain things that do require that camaraderie, and the classroom setting is definitely one of them.
yeah, yeah. But I'm sure your business, a lot of businesses came out and said, we can be just as productive with our employees working from home. In fact, we might not need as many buildings to rent and that kind of thing. So there might be some cost
Hmm.
benefit there.
Yep.
So you're working from home 4 days a week, and what's a 9 to 5 like? Like when do you clock in? When do you clock out, so to speak? And
Uh,
what do you do on a typical day?
okay, so on a typical day, usually start my morning at about 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern. Get my coffee, come downstairs, log in, start by checking our server, making sure all of our servers are up and running, and then I go through a checklist of basically any exceptions that have happened. So an exception would be like somebody shipped a container and they used the wrong container number. Well, that'll pop up in my little report, and basically that I created, that will show me, okay, here's the container, here's how many things were on it. This is what you need to do to fix it. I'll send an email to the corresponding people, so on and so forth. After that, I do my Scrum meeting. So have you guys gone over like agile methodology or anything like that?
Different target, different groups in here have, different groups haven't. So not
Okay.
everybody.
Okay. Well, I'm just laying that out there. We start our Scrum call at like 9 o'clock in the morning. Then after that, I go back and start with my tasks for our sprint. Usually do about 10 to 15 of those. Either add tasks, remove tasks, so on and so forth. After that, it's literally a free for all. So I will go through and I will look for things to fix.
Yeah. So it's you get your tasks from like a job board, so to speak.
Yes. So our business our business unit will basically determine what tasks need to be created. So if we need to add like a company, or if we need to edit a current piece of logic that needs to be or is not working correctly, or they're like, hey, we need this updated, changing dates around, stuff like that in the logic, not actual dates in the database. We don't change the data. We don't manipulate that. That's bad news. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's bad news. And we have auditing processes in place so people don't do that.
Can't do that. Yeah. So
Yep.
where was I going to go? Oh, so you work a pretty standard 40-hour work week.
I would say it's anywhere between 40 to 45.
40 to 45, and I'm sure that varies. But if you had to
Yeah.
just ballpark it, how much of your time is spent writing code? Like 50% of your time, 75% of your time? How much of the time are you like in an IDE looking at code and writing or modifying code?
I would say about 75% of the time.
About 75. And about the other 25%, you're talking about meetings and emails
Yep. Meetings,
and
emails, more meetings,
meetings and
administrative
emails.
work.
Yep. Yep. And how big is your team of developers at Century Distribution Systems?
We had 3. We are now down to 2.
Okay, so it's a small team. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yep.
And when you graduated in 2012, did it take you long to find your first job, or how did that process go?
So I believe even before I graduated in 2012, there were 3 of us from that class in 2012 that actually went on the same job interview, and I was the only one who got the job.
Well, congratulations. You
Yeah,
must have
thank
done
you.
something right there.
I don't know what I did right, but the other guys they were just as capable, if not more capable. So
Yeah.
you know.
So you landed a job right as you were graduating?
Yep, literally, I would say a week after I graduated, I was already working. Like I was about to go into the office. Like we hadn't even done the graduation ceremony. That took place in May, I believe, of 2012, I think,
Uh-huh.
somewhere around there. And yeah, I remember going to work. I think it was January 9th, and my first day of work. I spent 4 hours in traffic because it snowed so bad.
Dang. Well, safe to say, I've got a classroom of about 30 students listening to you right now, and I think it would all be their ideal situation that within a week of graduation, they're employed with their first full-time job. So what advice would you
Absolutely.
give to these entry-level developers to make that happen, to make them make that a reality for themselves?
Uh, don't go into it feeling like you need to be the best of the best of the best. Go into it and know that you're not going to know everything right off the bat, and be willing to learn. Be absolutely willing to learn. If you feel like you look online and you see a job position, oh, I think I might be a great fit for that, but oh, they've got, they say they need 5 years of experience. Don't worry about it. Just apply for it anyway. Apply for it anyway. What's the worst they can say? No.
So a couple things in there, right? Don't be intimidated by a job requirements, right? That if you don't check all of the boxes, you might still consider applying anyways, right?
Yep.
But then also be honest about your skill set. When you get asked a question you don't know the answer to, you gotta figure out how to answer that properly. You might say, well, I don't know, but here's how I would find out, or let me look into that kind of thing. Right?
Absolutely.
It's not just I don't know. It's I don't know, but I've thought about that or I've heard that. And how do you answer that type of question?
Yep. Or I'm willing to look into, let me go ahead and research that further before I give you another answer.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
So how many jobs have you had in your 11 years?
Oh, goodness. Actually, not that many, believe it or not. So my first one right out of college was the working for Accenture, which was a contracting company, and they contracted with the post office there in St. Louis. So I worked there for about 3 years, right out of college. After that, I worked for a startup for about a year, maybe less. Contract, same thing, but moved over to a completely different software suite. So at the post office, I was doing Java-based, Oracle, stuff like that. And then I moved over to the startup, and I went into the Microsoft suite. So I was doing a lot of, MS SQL, working with SourceTree, Jira, a couple other things, using Visual Studio for C# programs.
C#,
which,
yeah.
Yep. Then we went to Aclara for like 3 months, did a contract there for SSRS report building. So went further into SQL.
So is that your third? I'm just trying to keep count.
Yeah. That's the third. Fourth was Equifax.
Okay.
Right there off of out there in Hazelwood.
Okay.
And then I saw an opportunity to come out here to Virginia. I'm actually out of state now.
I didn't know that.
To work for. Yep. Been out of state for 5 years.
Okay.
And cool. I moved here back in 2018. August 2018, and I had a job within 2 months of being out here.
Nice. So what do you like about Virginia?
The trees. There's a lot more trees.
This time of year is pretty scenic.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
I have 2 windows on either side of me, so I can just go, oh, trees. It's great.
Nature's beautiful, right? There you go. So
It absolutely is.
you've had so I counted 5 jobs, or maybe 6, but regardless, 5 or 6. So that's pretty good, right? So
Yeah,
one
5.
one stand 5. Okay, so one standard, a tip that I've heard, right, whether you subscribe to it or not, is you stay at a job and you're gonna have a huge learning curve until you're there for a year or 2, and then you plateau. And then you go to another job,
Yep.
big learning curve, your skill set goes up, and then you plateau. And then you go to another job, your skill set, and then along the way, your value's going up and up and up. Therefore, generally speaking, your salaries go up and up and up. Whereas if you stay with one company for too long, your skill set tends to plateau a little bit quicker.
Yes, I do subscribe to that.
Yeah, yeah. So presumably that's helped your skill set grow and make you more valuable to these companies.
Absolutely.
Very cool. So in the 5 different companies you've worked for, have there been any standout pieces of software that you've worked on, or websites that you've worked on, something that either got high use or high volume, or just something that was kind of cool or trendy? I mean, you're probably not writing self-driving car software, but something that's kind of cooler,
I would probably have to say the coolest thing I've been working with so far is with Snowflake, and Snowflake's compatibility with, a myriad of, like, just a plethora of other softwares that it can integrate with. SQL being I would say the premier one. But using Snowflake to kind of basically grab all this data in and then twist it and turn it in a way to where we can make it useful to people, make it useful to our vendors, and, like, hey, we ship this many containers of widgets this year. How many widgets do we need to ship this year, and how many containers do we need to use? Well, I can tell them that. I can say, hey, you used 25 last year. It looks like you overbooked 15, so try ordering 7 this year.
Yeah, so describe Snowflake, because I'm only familiar at an entry level, and so I know a lot of people aren't probably familiar at all.
Cloud-based SQL.
So cloud-based data storage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exact same syntax. Slightly different from SQL, like Microsoft SQL. So you can teach them SQL, and they can go out and they can work with Snowflake.
Yeah.
They may not understand some of the subtle nuances with Snowflake, but that will come in time.
And what you're saying is that when I asked about cool software projects, is you're able to take all this data that's in your database, pull it out, and make it useful for the decision makers of this business to basically run more efficiently.
That is correct.
Yeah, and whether that's the number of containers. Now, each one of these containers probably has a pretty hefty cost, right? So if you're saying, hey, you need 15 less containers, that could be a big cost savings on the business.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what makes that cool is that you're just making these businesses more profitable, more lean, more mean, kind of thing.
Yep. More or less.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So in your 5 different jobs, how many, if any, gave you technical coding challenges on the interview?
I would say only 2 of them did.
2 out of the 5? And how hard were the coding challenges?
One of them was extremely hard, and that was with the startup. I think that was Diversified Check Solutions. That was actually a really difficult one. That was a C# coding challenge that they did for that one. And then the other one was the company I currently work for. He did a SQL challenge basically for me, like, hey, I need you to create a Snowflake schema for me, or if you were to join these 3 tables, what would it look like, without a Cartesian product.
So the other 3, they didn't give you how did they vet you that you knew what you were talking about?
Just talking to me. They had their subject matter experts there in the interview with me, and they would ask me questions like, hey, if I was going to join 2 tables together, and I didn't want to get nulls, what kind of join would I use?
So just a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Yep. Very cool. What's the job market been like through the years? Has it always been more or less easier for you to find a job? Has there been challenging times? And what's it like today? If you were like entry level, what do you think it's like?
I would think if it's entry level, I wouldn't get discouraged if you feel like you're not getting calls back or anything like that. I would keep pushing. I haven't been in the job market for about 5 years, but I do get calls from recruiters constantly. So I would say that it seems like it's pretty good. Like the market's pretty good. So I mean, I would think if you're entry level and you're willing to learn, I would think that they're going to be blowing up your phone.
Yeah. So that entry level job's probably the hardest one to get, but once you start getting that experience, then you're almost diamond in the rough kind of thing. We need more experienced developers.
Exactly. Yes. And doing more development on your own time, like, outside of work hours, not a bad thing either.
Yeah. Did you do any side projects when you were a student?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
Did those help you land your first job, you think?
They weren't. Yeah, like working with Java and working with Oracle kind of like on the side really did help kind of get my skill set. Like as I got the job and I realized, okay, here's the technologies I'm going to be working with. I'm not terribly familiar with them. Let me go ahead and see what I can do on my off time to try and get myself more up to speed with how these technologies work.
Cool. So is that what you do to kind of continue to learn, is side projects kind of thing?
Yep, exactly.
Do you subscribe to any like training seminars, training sites, or is it just all self-taught at this point?
All self-taught at this point.
Self-taught using the internet and the documentation of the libraries and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool.
Google is your friend.
Yeah. Speaking of AI, how much ChatGPT or Copilot do you use to help you with your coding nowadays?
Believe it or not much.
Okay.
I don't actually use it that much. I have experimented with it using asking it like, hey, I need you to write a Python script that does this and this and this, and it was able to give me code for it. Yes. Did it run correctly right off the bat? No.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a study that was done by Harvard not that long ago, and in the study, the results after thousands and thousands of questions that it asked it got it about 50% right.
Okay.
And obviously, the simpler the task, the more likely that it got it right.
Yes.
So about you got a coin flip, but it can help is what I'm hearing. It can help, but you still have to know what you're doing.
Yes. If you don't know how to piece it together from what it's giving you, you're going to have a hard time. Yeah. It's going to be a bad time.
Cool. So, are you happy with your life decision at this point to get in this industry?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you see yourself in this industry until you retire, or maybe down the road, maybe checking something else out?
I'm probably going to be about like 95, 100, still sitting in front of a computer, and then just, peacefully drift into slumber, still dreaming about code. That's how I see it going.
All right. That's a heck of an answer. That covers all my bases. I'll open it up to the class. You guys got any questions for Ed? We'll go here first.
For someone who's getting into coding, what would you recommend for someone who wants to learn about AI now?
Did you hear that, or I can repeat it?
He said learning about AI now?
Yeah, in other words, yeah. And so is the question like you want to build your own system, or
get your foot in the door with any sort of technology, just in the future if businesses are using it, have an idea of what they want or how I can use it on the job?
Yeah.
Just a second. I have a book. So what you want to get is this right here. The 100-page machine learning book. Okay? This has helped me understand language models.
Okay. I think that's a good answer.
So,
they're taking notes.
So get yourself, and it's by Andrei Burkov.
How
you can
about
find
that?
it on Amazon, I believe. Awesome. It's a great book. Helped me figure out exactly what sort of algorithms your LRM is going to be using. So, yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, great question. We got another question over here, and I know you got. Yep.
Go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think I was in there. What was his starting salary as a junior web?
We're not putting that on the recording, but we can answer that. Yeah. So the question was around salary. I tend to not make that kind of information public. So, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Question over here? No? Yep.
So, as someone that has been a starting developer at one point, are there any like niche opportunities that you would say most people don't think about that are good opportunities as a starting developer?
So the question is around niche opportunities. And so let me.
Like ones that aren't normally thought of when trying to get your foot in the door.
Okay. Opportunities that aren't thought of when you're getting your foot in the door. So I'm going to ask you a question, and maybe that'll help Ed. I mean,
Yeah. Not entirely sure.
Yeah. So there's like mainstream languages, right? And so a lot of what we're studying are like mainstream, lots of job opportunity. Are you asking about the languages that are more niche?
Not really so far as languages, more like just places to look for a job.
Okay. So like just places to look for a job. And so where might you go on a job hunt, whether it's the mainstream kind of sites or are there like niche avenues to kind of find back doors?
I would have to say look for contracting companies. Robert Half's and Sons is great. Accenture, never had a problem with them.
Could you explain the benefit of working with a contracting company?
The benefit of a contracting company is you are basically employed with a company for a set amount of time, so you have a contract limit basically for that company. If the company likes you and you work well with them, they can just hire you straight on. So that's the benefit. Like if you like working there, and if you, shall we say, you don't, you can always move to another contract.
Yeah, and so as a contractor, you might go work for different companies. You might go work, company A, then you go work for company B on a different contract, company C on another contract, and so you're getting a broad range of exposure on all these different technologies because you're working for different companies. So
absolutely.
That's another benefit of working for a contractor is you're getting a very wide exposure to technologies.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good question. Other questions?
We'll
just want to say, Ed, congratulations on your, success in the industry. Every day, I work with students that kind of strive to become what you've become. So, I hope you feel accomplished. Certainly, I think you are. And congratulations, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for taking the time.
Nope, absolutely.
All right, man. Have a good day. We'll catch you later.
Alrighty,
All right.
You too.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.